Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Women at the Top podcast, our author interview series. I'm Regina Barr, and I'll be your host today. I am so excited that we have author Jean Wright. She's a seasoned sales professional and former president of a local women's business organization. Jean recognized the need to boost confidence in sales among women, and especially women entrepreneurs. And that inspired her to write this book that we're going to talk about today and to share her valuable insights and practical sales tips. And most of you know I'm all about the practical and tactical, so I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So, with that, welcome to the podcast, Jean.
Thank you so much, Regina. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Wondering if we're so have you restate what you said. I believe you said you're happy to be here, so hopefully we're not going to have difficulties. But when you live stream, who knows? So we'll give it a
Right.
shot.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and speak about my book, Selling Your Confidence.
That's fabulous. I am a big proponent of helping to develop confidence, especially for women. So let's just jump right in. For those that have been with me for a while, you know I love to hear the backstory on a book. So, Jean, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write your book, Selling Your Confidence.
Well, I always knew I liked to sell, and I became pretty successful at it. So when I wrote my book, Selling Your Confidence, I really was thinking about what was it that gave me the interest or inspired me to be in sales. And believe it or not, is when I was selling Girl Scout cookies. And that was a long time ago, but I
Wow.
had to use a lot of persuasive skills to actually uh, ask my parents to allow me to do it. They didn't think it was such a great idea. At that time, we were going door to door,
Interesting.
and the image of the door to door salesman asking for money for something was not something they wanted their daughter to be viewed as. So it's kind of like, that's not really who we are, and we don't want the neighbors to feel like they need to give you money. So I had to get past that. And then I had a career where I really felt like I did well. I loved doing what I did. But what I didn't realize is that most women don't feel the same way as I do about selling. And I learned that from being a president of a local women's business group. When I talked to these entrepreneurial women who had to sell their products or services, I found that they felt kind of not confident about their skills and asking for the sale and feeling good about themselves. So, why not take all this information I'm receiving and talking about my story as I went through my sales career and what it was like for me and help other women feel better about themselves? So, that's why I decided to write the book.
Well, first of all, I love that you were a Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout too. And I love that even at this point in your career, that Girl Scouts had an influence. So it shows you the importance of having those associations at a young age to test out and try out things. And I'll tell you, the very first time I went camping was in Girl Scouts. And till this day, my husband and I, we camped a lot. We don't camp as much as we used to because we have a cabin now, but we go out and hike and do a lot of the things that I think I learned to love as Girl Scout. And if it hadn't been for Girl Scouts, I probably wouldn't have had that opportunity. So that aside, National Women's Business Organization, and I think that's another place where women can come together, be vulnerable, learn skills. And so I love that you put all that together to say, hey, women don't have enough confidence. I'm going to write a book and I'm going to help other people do either what I've learned or what maybe you do somewhat naturally.
Right.
So I want to talk about in the book that you discuss this concept that everyone is a salesperson, and I will tell you, I agree. We're all selling something, whether it's ideas or other things. So elaborate on that concept a little bit, particularly for maybe some of the folks that are watching or listening who may not consider themselves a salesperson, and tell us why is it important?
I'm sure every one of these viewers have experienced the times when they've been excited about something they've tried, or they purchased a product they knew that their friend would love, and they're excitedly telling them about it. I mean, you're actually selling something to your friend because you love it and you want them to love it. And so that's part of just the natural ability of sales that we have within us. And we have the confidence to tell people about it because we want them to feel like how we feel. It's all about emotion when you think about it. And then in chapter 2 of my book, I titled that Presenting the Package, because when we walk out the door, how many times have we thought about, I better put some makeup on today because I'm going to the grocery store and I may see someone I know. I mean, that's just a pretty basic example, but we do dress to be successful in whatever situation we're in, whether it's the
It's
day-to-day
the package,
world that
right?
we're in.
We're
Pardon
selling
me?
our package.
We're selling our
We're selling
package.
the package, right?
I want to look professional whenever I'm in front of people at a networking event. I want to represent my brand. I want to be that person who people will learn to trust me because I have become the expert of what I do, and I also look the part. So presenting yourself is really a part of the whole sales package, and we should understand that we're marketing ourselves all the time. And I think we even know that even more when we're on social media. All those things, we're putting ourselves out there. So think of it as you want people to get to know and like you, and it's how you present yourself that makes a big difference.
It's interesting because, we're kind of talking a little bit about makeup, and I was meeting with a couple of folks yesterday, and I told them it was a mad scramble to get to the meeting. It was out in Apple Valley. It was a 30-minute drive for me. And, I was weighing, gosh, I don't have enough time. Should I get my makeup on? I have a philosophy, and I was talking with my executive assistant, Chris, about this, that half the battle is showing up. But when I do show up, I do want my brand to be represented. So I hustled and scrambled and I got the makeup on, and all the gals kind of chuckled and laughed because we all understand that, right? That's part of the packaging.
Right.
And so I'm just chuckling that you said that too, because I would like never show up on the podcast without makeup. I didn't even want to show up to meet two girlfriends out in public where we were talking business without my makeup. And of all places, that would be one place maybe where I could have gotten away with that and still didn't want to. So now I want to talk a little bit about your experience and also bringing these concepts forward to women. And you clearly have had an extensive career in sales. And what you're saying today is you don't have to have a career in sales to sell yourself. And you've been in sales in a variety of industries. So clearly you bring a depth and breadth of experience to the table. So what was your motivation to share these insights and lessons with others, particularly these women, and particularly what we talked about, these women entrepreneurs? Was there really a driving force? Did you see something that happened that maybe you said, "My golly, I gotta get with these women so that they're not making these mistakes anymore"?
Okay, so I've spoken to many groups of women, and I've also worked with a lot of women as peers and women bosses. It just seems to have happened in my career. I've been around a lot of women. I guess the Girl Scout thing started it all, but I've got to understand a little bit about how they think. And some women think they have to be very aggressive to be successful in the selling type of thing. And guess what? That aggressiveness translates into the used car salesman type of image, because I very many times have mentioned this in speaking. So how do you feel about sales? Oh, I feel like when I'm in a sales situation that if somebody is speaking to me about buying something, it's like that used car salesman image. I feel intimidated. I feel like they're being aggressive. They're acting as if they know more than I do. And a lot of women just don't like that image. They don't want to be that person. And unfortunately, that's the image that we're kind of brought up on. When you go to buy something, you're going to be bombarded by all these types of behaviors that will force you to maybe do something you don't want to do, or have that buyer's remorse, like, oh, I bought that because I felt forced to do it. So that attitude really needs to change, because it's like that persona that women feel they have to compete with to be successful, and they don't really feel comfortable with it. So let's take ourselves and be more
Well, I
authentic
love what
instead of trying to be like what we think we need to
that's just
be.
what I was going to say. What I'm hearing you say. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
hearing you say that. I was just going to interject that what I'm hearing you say is be your authentic self. You know, you don't have to
right.
model yourself after someone else. And please don't feel like you have to model yourself after a man unless that style feels comfortable to you. Because I can tell you, I've been very successful in sales and marketing, and I would say I have a softer style. But I'm a great relationship builder and I'm a great communicator. And that's what I use to my advantage when I'm either selling my coaching businesses or coaching or selling real estate, which is another business of mine. So you have to find your own authentic way to feel comfortable selling yourself. And that really turns us to the confidence piece of what you were writing about. And I've been coaching women for probably 2 decades or more now. And what I have found is it's very rarely a competence issue that women face. So they're very competent, they know what they're doing. It's that confidence. And you consider yourself a confidence builder. So tell us why it is so important for women to build and develop their confidence, and a couple of simple suggestions how they can do that.
Well, I think we all have an inner confidence that we just have to pull it out and use it. Unfortunately, many times as we're growing up, we've haven't had maybe the right role models that have helped us feel like we can speak up for ourselves. Or sometimes we're told, well, don't be pushy, or feel like you're asking people to do something that's really not very feminine, or it's not nice to do. So we have to get rid of that training that we've had, and maybe our formative years, where maybe as a woman we've been and had barriers made up against us that we can't go further because we don't want to be like viewed as aggressive man, or someone who is not being nice. You can still be really nice and be assertive and persuasive. I mean, those are some really nice qualities to have. When you build a really good relationship, someone wants to buy from you, it's really not always about the product. It's probably because they want to work with you. They've gotten to know you through developing a rapport with them. And like you said, building a relationship. And honestly, the product comes kind of second. They just know, boy, I think I'd like to work with her. I think I'd like to feel like she's going to take care of me and she cares about me. So bringing your authenticness out there, and using what your inner confidence can bring you to help someone trust you, to want to work with you, that's really half the battle to be able to be successful in a sales situation.
What I love is that women tend, and I'm generalizing here, to be more relational. So, in a lot of ways, selling yourself or an idea or a product or whatever it is um, really likely would come more naturally or more easy to most women. So, I
Right.
love that. I love it being authentic. I like banishing some of the socialization that we may have had. And I'll tell you, I mentioned earlier, I think I'm a soft sell. And when I first relocated to Minnesota, I literally within 3 months of being here, I was serving on the board of a local professional business association. And the president took me aside and said I was a little too direct. And I was like shocked and horrified, and then spent some time to and appreciative, I might say, for the feedback, kind of trying to, I don't want to say tamp that down, but get to know the culture a little bit better when presenting
Right.
my ideas. And so I am to this day grateful that she shared that with me, because it was eye-opening to me and made me realize that I could still be my natural, authentic self, but maybe I needed to do things a little differently.
Right, right.
So I want to talk a little bit about balance. And, sometimes I don't think there's any such thing as balance. It's kind of a continuum. Sometimes we spend more time in our personal life, sometimes more in business. Whatever you think about balance, some of the challenges that you personally faced balancing your work, your goals when you were experiencing a health crisis. And I would suspect that many women, whether it's their own health crisis in juggling work or that of a family member or a child or a parent or someone has walked in your shoes in some way. So what are some strategies or tips that you could share with us today that would be helpful to someone facing a similar type of situation?
Well, I've been working in the type of culture that has told women you can do it all. And I think we can all relate to the family life, the business life, the other social life, all those things that we feel like we can juggle them all, we can do them all. And but unfortunately, you can't do them all well, and you can't do them all while taking care of yourself. And I'm kind of like a perfectionist, and I want to be able to do everything right. So I'm very focused on kind of accomplishing all these tasks, not only just accomplishing them, but doing them right and doing them, trying to be ahead of the game. And I think not having time for ourselves and realizing that if we don't do that and we let stress take over, it's going to affect us and how we feel. So, my tips would be to try to decide what the three most important things that you're going to set aside for yourself every week. Many of us now work from home, or we have the opportunity to be in a situation where we don't need to go into an office, but we may have an office at home. We may not have a door on our office, may be always open, so you can't actually shut the door. We have laptops, so we can have them on our lap. I can remember sitting up at night working when I was in a corporate world, trying to stay ahead of everything that I needed to be ready for the next day. So I was on my laptop at night and I was not able to shut it down. I wanted to keep working. And it was like, why am I doing overtime work? I'm just going to get up in a few more hours and start it all over again. And falling asleep at your laptop is not healthy because that can happen when you're doing extra work at
No.
night. So no one needs to work overtime. So I'd say stop working overtime. Really make a decision that this is when you're closing it down and you're putting your phone away or your laptop away. If you do have a door on in your office, shut the door and walk away from it. So it's hard to do, but in the end, you're the person that has to report to yourself every day. So make sure you know what your limits are and keep to that. I would also say the exercise routine in your day is really important. And a health coach had told me this once. Actually, write that on your calendar and build your activities or your appointments around that. Especially for entrepreneurial women who can make their time. It's helpful for you to put your important no, there's no negotiation here. The exercise time or the walking time is what I have to fit into my schedule. So make sure that that's on your calendar and you can build around that. And then reserve those
So
quiet
kind of
times in the
those big
morning.
rocks.
Mhm. Yeah,
Kind
exactly.
of
And
those big
so
rocks for yourself. Yeah.
no negotiation on that one. It's hard sometimes because you say, that was always the biggest excuse I had was I'd love to exercise, but I don't have time. Well, actually, you do if you schedule it. And if it gets to that point where you have to schedule it, then you have to schedule it. And reserve that quiet time for yourself in the morning, at least 15, 20 minutes before everybody else is bombarding you, or, the half hour or so before you actually turn in for the night, just to have that quiet time to get away from all the technology that you've been using all day and spend time for yourself.
Yeah.
So kind of helps with the stress levels.
I love
That's
all of those tips. So the first one, my takeaways, have some boundaries, know
right.
when to turn off and, let your clients know, let your boss know. I think a lot of times we have this thing in our head that we just can't do it. Well, you can. And I got to tell you, I've even had times where I've gone to the cabin and I've had a big deal going on or something in play, as I would say. And I've said, look, I'm taking some time off at the cabin, where, by the way, I don't have cell coverage, but I can get emails and I do have a landline. And I would tell people that and I'd say, I'm going to give this to you, but I just have one request. Please don't abuse it. If it's something urgent, yes, call me. And I have never had anyone abuse it. I had one president of a company call me when he had a real big HR issue when I was doing HR consulting. And that I was perfectly fine with that because I didn't want him to wait until Monday when I was back, and we dealt with it and both moved on. So that was one. Boundaries. Two is the exercise. I'm a big fan of movement. So ladies, figure it out if you work in downtown or someplace, do what I call a power walk on your lunch hour or do a walk and talk. And then I love the quiet time. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate those for those who are listening in today. So
Yes.
I wanted to ask, you've got a lot of great lessons, and I would encourage people to check out your book, Selling Your Confidence, Forging a Successful Sales Career from Mickeys to Martinis. So you don't have to be in sales to get some nuggets out of the book. So don't be scared off by that part. But highlight, if you would, a specific lesson or advice from your book that you feel is especially invaluable to someone who may have some aspirations for a sales career. So let's hone in on a sales
So
career for a moment, if you will.
sure, sure. So in one of my chapters, chapter 7 to be exact, I talked about having a home-based business. And there are a lot of those types of multi-level marketing companies out there, especially you get sort of pulled into those when you're raising a family or you just need that part-time work or like, you need extra money to help pay the mortgage, whatever. And I would go out and demonstrate some products to women. This was a really good way for me to keep my sales skills strong while I was raising my family before I went really back full time. One of the things that I really felt like women were selling themselves short about was this phrase that I would hear all the time. I'd be standing there talking about a product, telling these people all the features and the benefits of purchasing this product. These women would be looking at each other and so excited about what it was I was showing them and demonstrating. And you could tell they loved it too. And they had purchased it in the past, or they're explaining to their friend, like, you need to get this. I love it. You should have it. Look what she's doing. And then, I noticed all these things. And one of my jobs was to help recruit more people, of course, part of the multi-level marketing kind of model where you have other people working for you as well. And I go to these women and say, you are such a fan of these products, you would really be good at selling this. And as soon as you say the word selling, then they would say, oh, I could never do what you do. And that is like the biggest phrase, the most negative. They're not even giving themselves the opportunity to even think about it because they think it's a sales job. But what they've actually already
Right.
done is encourage these people they're sitting with to buy that product, like we had said previously about, oh, you're always selling. So don't sell yourself short about your abilities to really be able to use that emotion that women are so lucky to be able to have and put to their best advantage, and don't negatively talk yourself down. You haven't even heard about the opportunity I'm going to offer you. You haven't even heard about what type of money you can make from selling this and how your authentic self will just sell the product right away. So that was part of, like, a big takeaway. Another reason I wanted to write this book, and I devoted a pretty large chapter to that actual feeling of what it's like to just be talking to people who you feel should be confident about what they have to offer, but aren't really letting themselves do it and feel good about it. So negative self-talk, go
What an
away.
aha moment, because yeah, that's a big aha. No negative self-talk. It's interesting because I have worked a lot with coaching clients in the past. about how to share accomplishments, right? Which is a sales opportunity. Let's be honest. If you're trying to showcase what you've done, maybe so that you'll get promoted or that you will get a better our mindset say, well, if it's facts. So think about it as you're just stating facts. And you're kind of saying the same thing. Don't call it sales. You're sharing something that you really feel passionate about. So I love that example because I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. So, Jean, we are actually winding down on our time together today. And I would ask if you had just one last piece of advice around building confidence that you could share with our listener and viewers today. What would that be?
So I want people to know that selling or the world of sales, it's not a sleazy profession as people perceive it to be. And bringing your own inner confidence to build those relationships with people, trust that you can be respected as their advisor for the product or service you're offering, they're going to want to do business with you. And make keep yourself open to the opportunities of using those skills that you may not realize are very natural to you, and try it and see how you'll come across as a more authentic person, and you won't be afraid of that word sales anymore.
Love it. Well, on that note, that is all the time that we have today. And I do want to say thank you, Jean, for being with us, and to our viewers and listeners for joining us today. With that, see you next time.
Thank you.